Hello, this is Alan, welcoming you to the 1927th edition of the Enfield Talking Newspaper. Dateline is 24th October 2013. The readers this week are Sonia, Jenny, Audrey, and me, and we have Keith on the controls. The items that we will be reading come from our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser, and the Enfield Independent, under their copyright. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Pree, Fernand Bouillon, and Harry Breuer, and is performed by Jean-Jacques Perry, and is used with his kind permission. Our local stories include Gunman Found Guilty of Murder, You Must Stop This Stink, Urgent care centres open up at hospitals, and schools are shut as teachers strike. But first of all, we have an item of special news, in fact 2 items of special news. This week marks the end of an era for ETN. It is the last tape that will be produced by Muriel Arthur. Muriel has been coordinating our Friday production team in Community House for many years. Her service and commitment to ETN have been beyond compare. We hope to organise a special party to thank Muriel for her outstanding contribution, and we'll let you know the details once this has been arranged. 3 cheers for Muriel. From next week, Philip Dawson will take over leading the production team. The other item of news is sad. It is with sadness that we report the death of ETN's Minute Secretary, Jeanette Goodall. Jeanette was not only a volunteer with ETN, but also with Enfield Vision and Enfield Disability Action. Jeanette's funeral took place last week at the Enfield Crematorium and was attended by representatives from ETN and Enfield Vision. Jeanette will be sorely missed by us all. Now, if you are experiencing any problems receiving your Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 020 8805 6578. She is your listener's representative and will be pleased to help you. Now Sonia will read the first item of local news.
A gunman who fled to Thailand after shooting a man 7 times and killing him 6 years ago was found guilty of murder at the Old Bailey on Friday. Robert Dominic Bernard, 31, of no fixed address, was convicted of the murder of 20-year-old Duane Tomlin in a car park off the Elsinge estate in Enfield on July the 5th, 2007, in a shooting for which the likely motive was a feud between the men, which the prosecution claimed was linked to drug dealing, the court heard. Earlier that evening, Mr. Tomlin had been at a nearby address. He ordered a taxi, but after being collected and driven away, he asked the driver to return, it is thought after receiving a call or text message. While paying his fare, Mr. Tomlin, who was armed and wearing body armour, saw a small white van appear. He asked the taxi driver to drive away, as he believed the occupants of the van were armed. The driver drove into the car park in Dendridge Close, where the van pulled up alongside it and shots were fired into the taxi. Mr. Tomlin managed to get out of the car, but was shot at close range. The taxi driver escaped unharmed. A post-mortem examination revealed that the 20-year-old of Baker Street, Enfield, had been shot at 7 times, including twice in the head. At least 2 weapons were used. The white van was found burnt out a short distance away in Lackmore Road. At the scene, detectives recovered a glove which had an incomplete DNA profile for Bernard. At the scene of the shooting, a mobile phone was also found. This along with calls made between Mr. Tomlin and Bernard, linked the defendant to the shooting. But Bernard fled to Thailand immediately after the murder. In December last year, officers from the Met Police's Trident Gang Crime Command, working with the Royal Thai Police, arrested Bernard and he was extradited to the UK. Bernard was also found guilty of possessing a firearm with intent to endanger life. Co-defendant Adrian Thomas, 30, of Lion Road, Edmonton, was found not guilty on both charges. Bernard will be sentenced on November 18th.
The stench of sewage that seeps across the east of the borough in hot summer months should be kept under wraps, a meeting of councillors, residents and Thames Water officials heard last week. Last Thursday's meeting of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee at Green Towers Community Centre in Plevna Road, Edmonton, was convened after Claire Whetstone, who works on the Claverings Industrial Estate beside Deepham's sewage works, gathered 2,239 signatures on a petition calling for something to be done about the stink that emanates from the plant in Pickett's Lock Lane. Speaking to around 100 residents, as well as councillors, and Mark Matthews, Thames Water Town Planning Manager, she said, "In this borough we have a double whammy. We not only have the sewage plant, but we also have a waste incineration plant. People have to be able to go about their normal everyday lives without this stench stopping them from opening their windows in summer or taking their children to the local parks." Thames Water, which runs the sewage plant last year, carried out the first of a consultation process over proposals to upgrade the technology at the plant, which it believes would reduce the spread of the stench. Despite assurances from Mr. Matthews that the smell would be reduced considerably if the upgrade goes ahead, Alan Sitkin, councillor for Bowes Ward, using the meeting to grill the Thames Water Board representative on how much extra it will cost to completely eradicate the smell from the borough. Mr. Matthew replied, "We don't think it would be possible to do that, but in terms of covering the whole plant, it would cost in the region of £100 million. He added that the current cost of the upgrades is in the region of £200 million. However, Mr. Sitkin said, dividends paid out by Thames Water to shareholders in 2012 amounted to £231 million. He added that he was confused about why Thames Water could not reduce dividend payments and thus stamp out the stink completely. A furious resident echoed Mr. Sitkin's words. "Sewage stinks," Evan Hall of Cornwallis Grove, Edmonton, told the meeting. "You cannot bring all this sewage here and not put anything back into the community. What are you going to do for us?" A Thames Water spokesman told the Advertiser, "Due to the nature of the sewage treatment process, even covering the entire works does not mean we would be able to eradicate odour completely. In the same way as Thames Water customers expect safe, reliable provision of clean water and removal of wastewater, so its owners expect safe, reliable returns on the investment they make in the delivery of high-quality water and wastewater services."
New urgent care centres are up and running at Chase Farm Hospital and Barnet Hospital, health chiefs have announced. The centres at the hospitals in the Ridgeway, Enfield and Wellhouse Lane, High Barnet are for those who need medical treatment or advice which is urgent but do not need to visit the accident and emergency department. They have been established to relieve pressure on emergency services as part of the £115 million Barnet, Enfield and Haringey clinical strategy. Patients can be treated for ailments including sprains and strains, broken bones, minor burns and scalds, and minor head and eye injuries. The centres, which are open 7 days a week between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m, have access to the same diagnostics as A&E and are staffed by doctors and nurses. Maternity and inpatient paediatric services are due to be moved from Chase Farm on November the 20th, and the Accident and Emergency Department is scheduled to shut on December the 9th. Patients will have to go instead to North Middlesex University Hospital in Stirling Way, Edmonton, or Barnet Hospital. Chase Farm has been allocated £12 million, partly to fund the new urgent care centre, which is currently run in conjunction with the Accident and Emergency Department. Barnet Hospital has been allocated £23 million to expand and improve maternity and A&E services, as well as provide 200 extra parking spaces. Barnet and Chase Farm Hospitals NHS Trust chiefs say that more than 40% of patients do not need A&E care and can be treated in the new centre. Kathy Geddes, the Trust's Director of Clinical Strategy, emphasised the new service was for patients with urgent care needs and added, "There is no need to book an appointment. People can simply turn up and will be seen by either a doctor or nurse. However, they are for patients with urgent care needs. Those who attend A&E or the urgent care centres with minor illnesses or injuries will be sent back to their GPs or an appointment made for them. This is part of a raft of changes aimed at ensuring people in the area receive the right treatment at the right place and the right time. There will be a GP out-of-hours service available when the urgent care centres are closed, which can be contacted by calling 111.
Well, that's all as clear as mud, isn't it? Cuts to teachers' pensions and changes to their pay and working conditions sparked a one-day walkout across the capital last week. Schools in Enfield, where staff are members of the two biggest teaching unions, the NUT and the NASUWT, were closed on Thursday, as teachers from the borough flocked to a rally in central London. The strike action was the second wave of industrial action that teaching unions began in other parts of the UK on October the 1st over plans to bring in performance-related pay. Teachers are against Education Secretary Michael Gove's proposal, saying it will be near impossible to measure and implement. Unions are also furious that under new proposals, teachers will be forced to work for longer, for less. Chris Keats, General Secretary of the NASUWT, said that members had not taken the decision to strike lightly. She added, "No teacher has any wish to inconvenience parents or disrupt pupils' education, but this action is not the failure or due to the unreasonableness of teachers. It is the failure and unreasonableness of the Secretary of State, who, day in, day out, is disrupting the education of children and young people through his attacks on the teaching profession. We continue to appeal to the Secretary of State to acknowledge the real and deep concerns of teachers and commit to engage constructively in discussions to seek to resolve the dispute." The overwhelming majority of teachers in the region were on strike. Good to know. Sonia.
Enfield Council has announced a multi-million-pound spend on another renovation plan in the wake of IT upgrades in the borough's libraries experiencing widespread teething problems. Councillors at a cabinet meeting at the Civic Centre in Silver Street, Enfield, last week signed up to a £4.45 million revamp of Palmer's Green Library in Broomfield Lane. The decision on Wednesday night to spend the millions on the library comes after the council chose to sell off the adjacent Southgate Town Hall for flats earlier this year. Building work on the new-look library is expected to start next July. Cabinet Member for Culture, Leisure and Localism, Bambos Charalambos, said that the upgrade would mean a ramped-up free Wi-Fi service and improved public access computers. The councillor added, "We are absolutely committed to providing first-rate facilities for our communities and upgrading and improving the services we currently have."
Enfield could be in line for a mammoth cycling investment as the competition for a share of 100 million reaches its final stages. If successful, the borough could become a cycling haven with significant alterations to Enfield Town and Edmonton Green railway stations and a cycle superhighway along the A1010 among proposals. Enfield Borough Council has reached the last 8 of the Mini Holland competition, and the final proposals are due to be handed in by the end of November, with the top 4 bids receiving a share of the prize pot provided by the Mayor of London. Such potential investment has excited cycling groups. Co-founder of the Edmonton Cycle Club, Dave Skinner, said, "This would be a quantum leap for Enfield. This is much more than about bikes. It will open up the borough. It is about a massive integration of the community." The proposed cycle superhighway would span the entire borough from the M25 to Haringey and link up with the existing superhighway on the A10. A large number of cycle greenways would be installed borough-wide, with many existing routes receiving upgrades. Cycle hubs would also be treated as a community gathering point for cyclists. The development could help deliver the council's ambition to increase the number of cycle journeys tenfold. Councillor Chris Bond, Cabinet Member for the Environment, said, "It would be brilliant if we won. It is a very important issue, and we want to get as many people, young and old, on bikes as possible." The proposals also aim to make roads safer for cyclists by increasing the number of safe crossing points and installing a new Dutch roundabout which separates cars and bikes outside Edmonton Green Station. Access to the centre of Enfield Town would also be improved by replacing the zigzag route from the station with a direct path by setting back the building line in Southbury Road. Schemes such as Dr. Bike, run by Cycle Confident and subsidised by the council, help cyclists maintain their bikes. This and other services, including cycling training, would also be benefit from the Mini Holland Prize. Seems a good idea.
The arrival of the first Caribbean immigrants to the UK will be celebrated through spoken word, dance and music at a Black History Month event on Saturday. Legacy of the Empire Windrush, which is being staged at Trinity at Bowes Methodist Church in Palmerston Road, Palmers Green, will revisit key events in the history of British people of Caribbean descent since the first mass arrival of West Indians to England in 1948 on a ship called the Empire Windrush. The evening will be hosted by Palmers Green-based sculptor and painter Desiree Thompson-George and will include a keynote speech by the Reverend Prebendary Rose Hudson Wilkin, the Vicar of Holy Trinity with St Philip in Dalston and All Saints in Haggerston, East London, who is also chaplain to the Speaker of the House of Commons and chaplain to the Queen. The event will start at 6 p.m. Adult tickets cost £10, tickets for accompanied children under 16 years old are £3, and a family ticket costs £20. A freshly cooked Caribbean meal is included in the ticket price. To book a place for the event, contact Ken Allen on 020 8882 4192 or email kencallan207@gmail.com.
Health bosses have said that they are extremely disappointed with Enfield Council's bid to legally challenge the downgrade of Chase Farm Hospital. Liz Wise, Chief Officer of the Enfield Clinical Commissioning Group, told the Advertiser that the CCG believes there is no merit in the challenge. The Council's decision to embark on a judicial review is based on the grounds that the preconditions for closure laid down by former Secretaries of State have not been met, and it claims the promises of 4 new primary care centres and improved GP facilities have yet to be honoured. Ms Wise says, "We are extremely disappointed the Council has chosen to take this route. We are equally disappointed there is little reference to patient safety and quality in its claim documents. We believe we have done everything we are supposed to have done and are very concerned about the impact on patient safety of any delay. Downgrading emergency and maternity services at the hospital in the Ridgeway Enfield needed to happen sooner rather than later, she said. Hospitals have made it clear that they are ready to make changes, and GPs agree they should happen to maintain services at a level the people of Barnet, Enfield and Haringey deserve, she added. The North East London Council of Action, which has been staging a picket line outside Chase Farm for almost 2 years, is organising a protest march to the hospital on Saturday, the day probably you receive this. This demonstration is to show the huge anger that these planned closures, said Council Secretary Bill Rogers. We urge the people of Enfield to join in. We have held them off for 8 years. Now let's defeat the government's plans and keep our hospital open. Marchers will be assembling at Chaseside War Memorial from 1 p.m. for a 2 p.m. start. That's on Saturday the 26th of October. I think it's 26th. Sonia, over to you. Sonia, wake up.
This is a letter from Rachel MacDonald of the Edmonton 100 Historical Society. All Saints Edmonton in Church Street is holding a history afternoon on Wednesday, October the 30th. A collaboration between the Edmonton 100 Historical Society and the parish church, courtesy of Father Stuart Owen. It should be of interest to those interested in local history and or anyone researching their family history. After a talk by Robert Musgrave on the history of the parish church and a tour of the church and graves, notably Charles and Mary Lamb, the church records will be available for inspection prior to being sent to LMA. The oldest, including deaths, went some time ago, and the newest, from 1913, will stay, but if anyone has names, dates of relatives and their baptisms and marriages from about 1840 onwards, or just wants to browse, it's a great opportunity. The event is open to all and free of charge, but I would ask everyone to make a generous donation, especially if making use of the church records. We hope to raise much-needed cash for All Saints, which desperately needs work on its roof and tower. Please feel free to email Rachel MacDonald at historynews@hotmail.com or ring 07913 344364 with any inquiries. You can also get in contact with any names and dates you may wish to investigate, which will speed up the process of locating the records for you to view. All Saints also holds records from some other churches in the parish which no longer exist, e.g. St Bartholomew. The church will open from 1:30 p.m. for a prompt start at 2 p.m. and will finish by 4 p.m. We look forward to seeing as many people as possible.
Good luck to that venture, sounds good. A gate to stop fly tipping, a Christmas parade and silver surfing sessions are among community projects given funding worth more than £35,000. The gate, to be erected across an alley in Chatsworth Drive to prevent antisocial behaviour and fly tipping, will be paid for by the Enfield Residents Priority Fund. The fund will also pay towards a community Christmas lights parade in Town Ward, guided walks in Trent Park, Cockfosters, and silver surfing and yoga sessions for over people in Bowes Ward. Enfield Borough Council's Cabinet Member for Culture, Leisure, Youth and Localism, Councillor Bambos Chalalambos, said, "The ERPF is a wonderful initiative which delivers fantastic projects requested by residents and in areas of real need. The beauty of the scheme is that it provides services that residents have asked for in the area. They are needed and so puts people at the heart of decision making locally."
Acclaimed actor Jeremy Irons led a bevy of celebrities in supporting the annual Chicken Shed Gala last week. Held at London's iconic Guildhall, guests also included Christopher Biggins, Sinead Cusack and Doctor Who star. The event featured a performance by more than 150 members of Chicken Shed and an auction to raise funds for the theatre. Irons says, Southgate and Kensington and Chelsea are most fortunate to have a chicken shed in their yard. The opportunity for children and young people of all backgrounds, talents and abilities, especially those with disabilities, which so often exclude them from such creativity, is a truly immeasurable bonus to our society.
Enfield North MP Nick Dubois has won support from the Prime Minister after calling for local business rates to be cut. The Enfield Independent reported last week that local businesses have called on Enfield Borough Council to help with business rates. After hearing businesses in Enfield were paying almost twice as much in business rates as they were in rent, Mr Dubois called on Prime Minister David Cameron to make the right choices to support hard-pressed retailers during Prime Minister's question time. Mr Cameron answered it was vital to encourage councils to make sure they do everything they can to apply the discounts where they are available and to continue to work on this issue. The MP told the Enfield Independent, "We have a job now to try and persuade Enfield Council to make it a priority to help small businesses with their business rates. The Council has the power and the financial help from government to do so. It needs to act now to make sure our local shops and businesses and the jobs they provide are given help so that they are still here in years to come." We have now reached the end of side 1 of this tape. Please stop your machine now, take out the cassette, turn it over and start side 2.